This May, journey through spectacular mountain scenery and picturesque cities as you experience 3 alpine countries with our very own Travel Bug Girls Guide Kara and local experts. This enchanting 10-day journey across Switzerland, Austria, and Bavaria will leave you breathless with wonder and eager to return. To learn more, visit our website at travelbuggirls.com/Europe. That's travelbuggirls.com/Europe.
If you aren't willing to pay your travel agent a fee, are you willing to only be sold whatever is the higher commission? So you're paying maybe more money upfront for that trip, even though you don't think of it that way.
Welcome to the Travel Bug Girls podcast, the show where we dive into the world of travel, exploring everything from expert tips and insider secrets to unforgettable destinations and the latest trends. Whether you're a seasoned globetrotter or planning your very first adventure, we've got you covered with the advice and inspiration you need to make your travels truly unforgettable. So sit back, relax, and let's take your travel planning to the next level.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Travel Bug Girls podcast. We're glad that you're here with us today. I'm Kimmy, I'm your host, and I'm here with Cassie, Heather, and Tina. And today we are going to talk about kind of a hot button topic in the travel agent world: to fee or not to fee. Yeah. We are going to talk about travel agent fees and charging fees for planning travel. So let's start with how travel agents even make money. Like, how do travel agents get paid? So basically, it's their commission. And do anybody want to explain kind of how that works? That varies by vendor. It's a lot of factors that kind of play into that.
There's a lot of factors because it's not just that we are selling a certain place or from a certain supplier. Those suppliers are also communicating or have a relationship with our host company, which also gets a cut of that commission. And then there may be another cut of the commission from if a travel agent is working with a group. And then the rest of the commission goes to the individual agent. Commissions vary, but they are not that high. Absolutely. And so travel agents have to do multiple trips and have multiple clients in order to make the money from the commission.
And for the commission, just for instance, if you were talking about you're making 10% off of a booking, which generally, it's not that high. Someplace like Disney or Universal, something that, Disney has 30 plus resorts. There's hundreds of dining, different things you can do, different days, parks, different options that would be right for different people. There's so much work that goes into it that the commission doesn't even begin to cover the time that you spend even talking or asking somebody, let alone on the back end if there's something that arises during their trip. Say,
commission is interesting because a lot of people don't realize that it's not standard. There's not one commission.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we might have a standard commission structure within our company, and that is how money is paid out to each agent. But what comes into the company varies based on what we're booking. So one hotel chain or resort might pay a totally different commission structure than a different one, or one cruise line versus a different cruise line. There are cruise lines that are paying closer to 10%, and then there's one we like to use that pays sometimes up to 16%. And so it depends on who you're booking through. And some agents, the reason why different travel agents or agencies might charge a fee or not charge a fee might have something to do with their flexibility around that. Some agencies tend to only work with 1 or 2 or 5 vendors that they know pay a good rate of commission. And so they're like, I only want to get paid the best commission, so I'm only going to work with these vendors. And that is a totally legit way to run a business, and that simplifies things. You know what you're getting paid. You know who you're working with. You become an expert just working with those 4 or 5 vendors maybe, and you really have narrowed down what you're doing. And so in that case, they may not feel the need to charge a fee, for example, because they're feeling like they're getting enough commission working with a higher paying commission company, that they feel happy with what they're getting. And sometimes those same companies that are paying higher commissions are a higher dollar product. So somebody who's selling a trip worth $30,000 is very different than someone who's selling a trip worth $3,000, right? Or someone who's willing to book you a weekend hotel for $300. Those are extremely different price points. And the bottom dollar for the agent, even if they're all 10% across the board, is an extremely different dollar amount, right? And so it's really important to keep in mind that agents make these decisions based on what their regular bottom line is going to be. And for somebody to have more flexibility, they might be charging a fee.
The things that we are planning for our clients are not always commissionable things.
That's a great point.
So when you hire us, sure, we may be doing some of that out of the goodness of our heart because we want you to have a good time. My previous job, I worked at marketing for a financial planner. And in the financial planning industry, there's kind of the same thing. There's people who work on fees for financial planners, or there's people who work on commission. Now, if you are working with somebody who is working on just commission, they may always just try to sell you the things that make them the most money. And like in travel, that may be a perfectly good way to do things because, the people who come to you, maybe that's all that they need are these certain things that you specialize in that happen to give you a good commission. When I am charging a fee, I am letting my clients know, hey, this is so I can spend time and effort finding you the best deal. And it may be the best deal because it's a less expensive option, and I'm not missing out, or I don't feel like I should guide you a different direction just because of my paycheck. I'm guiding you in the direction that is finding the best hotel for you or the best trip for you based on what you've told me. So maybe by having a fee, I am more likely to, just do what you need done, not necessarily what the numbers are going to look like at the end.
That's a great
Definitely.
point. Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up because I think it's good to note that this kind of option or like fee-based or not fee-based is not exclusive to the travel industry. There are other industries that kind of operate in their own way where each agency operates in a way that works best for them. And I think your point too, that if you are not charging a fee, then it makes it more difficult for the agent that is planning to really be unbiased when they're choosing who they're going to work with, when they're choosing a hotel, when they're choosing, whatever. If the only money that they're getting is from the commission from that. So when we look at different vendors, some of them might be a 5%, might be an 8%, might be a 12% commission. So if that's all the money we're getting, heck yeah, you're going to want to use the vendor that has the 12% commission, because otherwise, you might be working 10 hours and making $30.
I think that's why there are some cases where some people have gotten the wrong idea about travel agents. And this happens in every industry where someone is paid on commission. This happens in every industry where someone's paid on commission. People get the idea that they're being taken advantage of, or that they're only being sold what the sales agent wants to sell them, not what the buyer wants to buy. It becomes a temptation in any industry where the sales team is paid only on commission. It will not happen with every sales agent. Okay, but it is a temptation that is going to lure some sales agents into only selling you the higher dollar items, only promoting and pushing and showing you the higher dollar items. And that's because it's the only way they feel like they can justify their work. It's the only time they feel like they get paid enough to do all the work that's required, right? And so that's why some people, say things like, oh, car salesman, they're such a scam. No, they're not, guys. They get paid to give you what you want, okay? They're not a scam. Are there unscrupulous salespeople? Yes. Yes, there are. But it's usually created by a scenario where the only way for them to get paid is to push the higher end stuff in order for them to feel happy with their work. That's the only way for them to get rewarded. Like then they get rewards on top of that. Like if you're the highest dollar salesperson, then you get extra rewards, right? That a system set up that way is going to create more temptation for people to act that way. So when we created Travel Bug Girls, when we built our business from the beginning, I was making decisions so that my agents would not feel trapped into that mindset, because it's a temptation that's already going to be there. And what I want is for all of our clients to have the vacation they really want. And if that means what they want is to book something that doesn't exist on a commission system, for example, when I started Travel Bug Girls, I had just moved back from Europe and I had seen all these incredible, like little Italian farmhouses and little French castles and all these things that I knew weren't on the main hotel systems that are going to give you the big, commission payouts. If I'm going to book that for you, I'm going to have to go to a personal website or call an actual human and arrange that trip for you. And I wanted the freedom to do that and still get paid for it without having to turn around and charge the clients a huge sum. So in order to do that, charging a small fee that covers the time it takes for me to make those phone calls and make those arrangements for you and maybe talk to a person in a foreign country on my own time and dime, right? I want to make sure that I can give you the vacation you really want and not feel the pressure to push you towards the same big box resorts and cruise lines that everyone else is using just because they get paid a higher percentage to do that. I want to be able to really give you the vacation you really want and to not feel like I got cheated out of it either. I want us both to be happy. Everyone should be happy at the end of the transaction. And so that's why we set our company up the way we did. That doesn't make anyone who did it differently wrong. It's just that we made intentional choices and so is someone else. When I talk to an agent who's like, well, I don't charge fees. Great. That's good for you. Good. I don't know how you're doing that. I would want to know kind of behind the scenes. What are you only working with certain, vendors? Are you maybe not getting paid as much as you should and you're not going to be in business very long? That happens, guys. Like just transparency. There are a lot of people out there who aren't taught how to run a business. And if they're not making the money it takes them to put into it, they're not going to be in business very long. And that's sad for everyone involved because what if they're amazing at what they do, but they can't sustain their business? Then nobody else is getting to benefit from their services for very long because they can't stay in business. So it's in everyone's best interest to make sure that we are paid for our time, just like everyone else out there should be paid for their time. And we want our clients to not feel cheated. We want them to feel like it was worth the investment. It was worth whatever I spent on that travel agent because she got me the best deal or the best vacation, or she got me something I didn't think somebody else could get, or she just cared and she took the time to give me what I asked for and I didn't have to do all the work and planning. She built it for me and I'm so grateful that I just got to show up and enjoy my vacation.
Where else can you get a person, regular people get a personal assistant to help you
essentially
your trip?
Yeah.
I
mean, all of my clients, I feel like we're best friends by the time we're done because now I know so much about you and what you want and your kids or your husband or your best friend or whoever's going on the trip with you. Like, I know what you're looking for and what you care about. And I care about it too now because I've spent weeks putting together all the things to make sure you are the happiest you can be on your trip. And now I'm personally invested. I haven't just spent time, I've spent my emotional energy in making sure that this is the trip you've been dreaming about. So that is valuable in this land of DIY, right? Where we're checking ourselves out at the grocery store and we're having to book our own stuff and plan our own everything and build our own furniture from IKEA, right? Like everything we're doing is ourselves now. It matters to have a real person who will answer the phone, who really cares about you, who knows what you want and is trying their best to get it for you. That's valuable.
And I think specifically if you go into our expertise, each one of us specializes in different things because, nobody can be great at everything. And I think when you pick the travel agent, say you're going to Disney or you're going on a cruise, Tina would know the questions to ask. Maybe not so much me, because that's not my area of expertise. But if you're taking kids, I can give you a ton of extra information that you're not paying me extra for. Once you pay my commission, you get all my bag of tricks and any kind of recommendations. A lot of people are chat GBT and things. I watch travel stuff constantly. I am constantly intaking information with travel. And, chat GBT may tell you to, hey, go to Disney and ride Big Thunder Mountain. And then I, as a travel agent, know Big Thunder Mountain is closed until February of 2026. Like, FYI, don't plan your whole trip around that because it's closed. So I think those things are very useful. They're very valuable, that we may not assign a value to them, but they're very valuable.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I think it's important to understand how your travel agent is getting paid because of the things that we've already talked about. But there's also, if you're starting to feel like you're getting taken advantage of because somebody's asking you for a fee, and you've seen all these things, say on the internet, saying, I never charge a fee, I never charge a fee. Okay, that may be fine, like Heather was saying, but there's also some agencies out there that are almost like your multi-level marketing, and they may be fine as well, but there are some of those who they're getting their paycheck from the people that they're signing up under them.
Yes.
Kind of like, the Mary Kay or whatever. And I know I've been involved in those in the past, and actually that's where I started at the travel business, because I didn't know better a couple of years ago. And then I learned, and so if I were to go to a travel agent and expecting them to have a travel expertise where they're making great money, you see them driving a great car or whatever, but they're making that great money because they've just signed up a lot of other agents, and they may be guiding them in a great direction, perfect, but they may not as well. So it's just something to kind of think about.
That is a good point. I think the average person doesn't realize that those even exist. And even like you said, Tina, like even the average person trying to become a travel agent doesn't know they exist, and they can get sucked into that because they Google it, right? You're just like, how to become a travel agent. And the first things that are going to pop up, by the way, are those companies that are recruiting. They're literally recruiting because they get paid for every person they sign up. So, and then they're going to take a portion of what your sales are. That's how an MLM works. MLM is not inherently evil, but it's not how a traditional travel agency works, but they have disguised themselves in the same way. So it looks to the outside observer like the same thing. And there are some things that are the same, but there are other things about it, like how they're set up to pay, for example, that aren't the same. And so it's just important to know that if somebody is saying that they're not charging fees, it could be that it's because their bottom dollar is not coming from their interaction with the clients. It's more about trying to recruit you after your trip to become a travel agent yourself. Oh, you loved that? You loved your trip? Hey, guess what? You could get a discount if you become a travel agent. And then they sign you up to be a travel agent so that you can get discounts on travel, and then they get paid more because they get to move up in the ranks because they recruited another person to their team. And so, like I said, that's not an inherently terrible thing, but it's not the same thing as what, for example, Travel Bug Girls is doing. And so there is a reason we charge fees, and we're not an MLM. So, that's something just to keep in mind when you see those people posting that.
Yeah. And another thing about us is we are all individual business owners, and we're sharing the Travel Bug, umbrella. I know in the, the financial planning industry, we would say, ask how they're making their money. Maybe you ask. I don't know. I think there are some travel agents who would say, it's not really your concern how I get paid. But if it's important to you, if it's not enough to know that you're getting your time back because you are hiring somebody, if it's not enough to know that you're working with a specialist, and if you want to ask, that never hurts to ask.
Yeah, I think it shouldn't hurt to ask. If somebody gets really offended by you asking, and you asked in a polite way, we're going to assume you're polite, okay? But if you're polite and you're just asking like, hey, by the way, how do you get paid? There's no reason why they shouldn't tell you that information. So that shouldn't be a major secret, really, in and of itself. But a fee, you definitely, if you're concerned about a fee, ask about it. What does this fee cover? Hopefully an agent is being transparent with you. If not, like, let's assume that that's an oversight, that they accidentally didn't tell you. Let's not assume that somebody's trying to hide something from you. If someone is hiding something from you, then that is a red flag. You should not be working with someone who's trying to hide what they're charging you. You should know up front, if possible, what the fees are, what they cover. And I think these are best practices. Someone, if you're a travel agent out there listening, you're new and you found us somehow, like, please write down exactly what your fee is, what it covers, what it's for, and when it's due, and put that in your information kind of up front. It doesn't have to be on your website, face forward, okay, but definitely in your first conversation or two with a client, they need to know that information. And so that's our standard practice, is to make sure our clients know. If somebody ever worked with us and they didn't know that pretty early on, then that was an oversight. That was an accident, because it should be in our pretty early conversations about what we charge and why, and how to pay it and when it's due. That's pretty basic information, So we charge, you might see different kind of fees with different agents. One fee would be a booking fee. A booking fee is to cover the time, mostly, that an agent is spending making the booking, actually making the reservation, okay? And so a booking fee is usually due when they start booking your trip. So it won't necessarily be due early on, that happens when you're booking the trip, and it covers the process of making those reservations and managing your reservation. So if anything changes later on, if they have to talk to the hotel later, if there's any later requests, the booking fee covers that. And heads up, some agents charge a booking fee for each piece. So there might be a booking fee for a hotel, a booking fee for an airfare. There might be a booking fee for, any excursions or tours you're doing, because every single time they have to interact with your trip, they might feel that it's fair to charge you for the time they're spending doing that. So that's what a booking fee would cover. So you might want to know, like, is this a one-time booking fee for my whole trip, or is it per piece? Is it per person? Those are some things that might need to be explained or asked about. Another fee could be a planning fee. A lot of agents now are charging planning fees that are charged earlier in the process. And that's because a person might inquire about a trip. You do a ton of research, plan out the trip, present the trip, and then the client says, thanks. And they take all that information and go book it themselves. And you just spent 6 hours. You didn't tell them you spent 6 hours. They think you spent 20 minutes. They don't know. You may have spent 6 to 8 hours doing the research, planning out the itinerary just right, so everything falls perfectly. You may have made it pretty even and put it into a beautiful presentation. That takes a lot of time. And then that person basically stole from you, is the way the agent feels about it. Okay.
Yep.
If a client takes that and runs with it, without paying for it, they stole your time, your effort, your energy, and in some cases, your resources, because we're paying for the resources to plan everything and book everything and present everything. So that's a form of theft in a way. The client doesn't see it that way. They think they snagged a great deal, okay? But if they didn't pay for it, that's really steep. And so that's why some agents will charge a planning fee before they give you that presentation with all of the itinerary printed out, because they want to make sure that if you decide from that point on, I don't want to work with this agent, or I want to book it myself, or I've changed my mind entirely, and somehow you don't want to move forward with the trip, that person still gets paid for the time they spent working for you. So that's what a planning fee would be. And I'm a big fan. However, I don't always charge a planning fee. Sometimes if it's a repeat client and I trust my client, I'm not charging a planning fee. Or if there's some other reason why I feel like this is definitely going to go through, then I don't always charge it. But that's discretionary. And I think every agent should make that decision themselves. And I think it only takes being burned a few times with people you trusted as clients before you go, maybe I should think about that planning fee again, because it's really hurtful. It's really hurtful. And affects your bottom dollar. Like, we have bills to pay too, right? So I have a family to take care of, and so does everyone else. So that's pay a planning fee.
Where else are you gonna go where you're getting a service and then not expecting to pay for the time that somebody spends on that service? Like it's really kind of that in that way, the travel industry is kind of unique because for some reason there's this expectation that it should just be for free, that people should just spend their time for free and create this service. And I mean, let's be honest, it's kind of that's an unfair expectation for a client to have to come in and be like, hey, will you spend 6 hours planning this for me for free? And then what?
I think that's got to come from a misconception about how we're paid, though, right?
I think it is.
If you assume we're paid commission, but you don't know how much that is, you don't know how that plays out, because we're not saying, oh, well, if you book this cruise, I get paid this much. And if you book this resort, I get paid this much. Nobody's saying that out loud. So there's a misunderstanding there. There's absolutely a disconnect entirely. So, and there was a time, I think, when travel agents back in the past got paid for more things. We know now, we don't get paid for airfare. In general, a travel agent is not getting paid for airfare. The airline's not paying commission for that. So there might be services that are paying commission where they're uppricing the airfare. But then in that case, your client's paying more. They are paying more. And if they looked up that price themselves, they would see a much lower price. So that's just something to keep in mind. Airfare is not commissionable. And there's also
I don't think most people know that.
People don't have any idea.
Yeah.
And why would they? Why would they know? I didn't know that before I was a travel agent.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. So, but there was a time when airlines did pay commission and only travel agents could access the systems that could schedule, flights. And so they got paid for it. And that's just not how it works anymore. Now anybody can book their flights. And so if you're paying a travel agent, you really should be paying them in some way, either through them booking through a system that is going to upcharge your flights, or you're paying them a direct fee to book them because they're spending a lot of time, and airlines are a nightmare to deal with. They really are. We all hate that. I mean, I think the average person does, and that's why you should hire a travel agent to help you, but expect to pay for it. Expect to pay for the time that they're doing. There's a lot of misunderstanding, misconceptions. We don't get to travel for free. We all in this group wish we could travel a whole lot more than we do. And our budget primarily is what keeps us from doing that. And yes, we all wish we saw more free travel options for travel agents. It's just not, it's not reality. It's a misunderstanding. And I think things like Instagram and TikTok make it harder because you don't see the reality behind it. You just see the beautiful pictures, right? And you imagine that that's all we're doing all the time is traveling for free because we're travel agents. And it's just not reality. I don't know any travel agents doing that for free all the time. Right. I don't know a single one.
And even the influencers who are travel influencers, they may be getting paid by somebody, but for the most part, travel agents aren't travel influencers. So an influencer is going to be, the company's like, hey, you need to mention my resort, and you have to have this many times that you're sharing it, and you have to have this many people following you, and then they may get paid lots and lots of money. They may, or they may not, or you don't know how. You
don't really know the reality behind those pictures.
And if they are, and that's okay too. That's okay too. They're not.
But they are limited to show what the company is paying them, right? They are only going to show the companies that are paying them.
Right.
So you're not necessarily showing what you really need to see. They want to make that company look good because that's who's paying their bills. Yeah. So there's this element of where's reality in the middle of all of this story, and what is the right thing for a travel agent and for consumer? There's a middle ground here that's probably better. And it's easy to see the distortion. Once you start to look at, behind the scenes a little, you can see how there's a lot of pressure on all sides, and a lot of fake news, kind of, so to speak. right? It's hard to see the reality. And I think making assumptions is not the way to go. And as travel agents, if there's travel agents listening, like, be upfront, be honest, be upfront, be helpful. The whole point is to be helpful. Don't be embarrassed about what you're charging. If you're charging a fee, be honest about it and upfront about it and tell them exactly why. And if they choose not to work with you, I would not be brokenhearted about that. Go find the person who's happy to pay your fee because they see your value, and make sure you're living up to that value proposition, And if you are a consumer wanting to not pay a fee, then really consider, what is your trade-off? If you aren't willing to pay your travel agent a fee, are you willing to only be sold whatever is the higher commission? So you're paying maybe more money upfront for that trip, even though you don't think of it that way, right? As consumers, we're often tricked into not seeing the realities. We have been told fees are a bad thing. Are they though? Because if it's going to save you money in the end, are you really sad to pay me $50 up front if I save you $2,000 on your trip?
Or aggravation?
Or yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Would you rather not pay a fee, but that person's not going to take care of you because they're really in it to recruit you to be a travel agent on the other side of your trip, right? Like, make sure that you really consider the real cost behind your trip, and the real value of a travel agent is to save you time, maybe save you money, definitely save you time, and to have a real human that cares about you and your trip to help if something's going wrong. Those should be the main value points for any travel agent, whether they charge a fee or not. Make sure you're partnering with someone that you can really trust.
I think that is a great place to wrap up. That was a good discussion. And hopefully our listeners have learned kind of some new insider information about how, like, the travel industry works for travel agents, and, why we at the Travel Bug Girls do charge a fee and the value that comes with that fee. So great discussion, y'all. Thank you for that. Well, thank y'all for joining us today. And that was a great episode. Be sure to tune in next week. Our episodes come out on Tuesdays, and so tune in and be looking for our next episode of Travel Bug Girls Podcast. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Travel Bug Girls Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to get our new episodes every week. We'd love to connect with you on social media. Share your answer to this week's podcast question with us at facebook.com/travelbuggirls. You can find us on your favorite social media by using @travelbuggirls. Want to join our VIP group? You'll find us on Facebook groups under TBG Travel Bugs. Learn more about the Travel Bug Girls and what we do on our website at travelbuggirls.com. Until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and safe travels. Ready for that summer girls trip you've always wanted? Join us this July for a dreamy summer escape to Mexico's Riviera Maya and the Bahamas from beautiful Miami. 5 nights on Virgin Voyage's Resilient Lady in a sea terrace room with balcony and hammock. This cruise is adults only and designed for the perfect escape. Spend the day in the spa, lounge by the pool, or dance the night away with friends. Don't let another summer go by without an epic vacation. For more information, visit travelbuggirls.com and click the Girls Trip tab. That's travelbuggirls.com.